is the problem. So yes, slides will be there. I will try to flip some of the slides, keeping the I will say the time definitely as the thing, but I will be more than happy if there are questions. There are deliberations also happening in the course of presentation. Having said it, let's basically look from my perspective what today's newspaper. I mean, Divya Bhaskar, 4th March today. There are couple of clips from the Divya Bhaskar, what it captured. I mean, so I have just reproduced as it is, and there are couple of the informations which are from some previous. So I just wanted to bring the flavor. One side we say there had been 140 inches of rain, and in spite of that much amount of rain, there was a region where there had been a struggle for the sufficient availability of the water, and some solutions were worked out. Obviously, we also know national elections are likely to get announced in the next, I will say, days or weeks. And there was one news item which says that AI, artificial intelligence boards, can create deepfake videos and can influence the election. I mean the people perception. So this is another aspect of an engineer. There is another positive part of the news saying that we have underground metros, and one of the deep, that is 30 feet down, a metro station is getting constructed, which will be the second, I mean the deep in India, following another one that is in Calcutta, which is around 35 meters, not the feet. There is one news item which says that there has been dates as the crop, and it has been facing lot of issues in terms of the pest effect, and how artificial intelligence is helping to improve the crops. Obviously, there are some more things, but one specifically on the energy part, which highlights that oil and gas, that's basically as the prime source for the energy, is seeing a reduced demand with an increased emphasis coming towards the renewable. But obviously, the today's newspaper also says this is the month of March, and from 15th March we will have a March for a higher temperature. I mean the higher ambient temperature. Then there is another thing which it highlights, that with AI and crypto usage, we are seeing a multiplication of energy demand. So if you go into the news, it says that if you use ChatGPT, even though it may be a minuscule of an energy on your machine, you are increasing the energy consumption by 3 times. So sending a mail is also some energy consumption, but if you make use of a kind of a generative artificial intelligence platform, you intend to make use of more energy. So these are couple of things, and obviously in the center is also you can say from a layman perspective. So even though whoever may not be qualified, it says that whatever you need, you just take an image and you will be able to find a solution. So that's basically the Google image lens. But what are all these? If you try to take a look at these news items, it reflects somewhere we have the solutions, somewhere we have the engineering basically offerings which create positive impact towards the common man, towards the society at large, and there are also the scenarios where these solutions can also create a negative effect. So this is purely from a newspaper, and let's remember that newspaper is not read only by engineers. It is read by the last person in the society also, and still you find this content, and this reflects somewhere in our present day-to-day life the significance of an engineering things around us, whether we call them as an engineer outputs or not, but those have all got woven into our day-to-day life. But let me just take one illustration. If I show this picture and may ask that what is this? Possibly there can be different views, but just to make it move fast, It is basically a kind of an first level of an engineering adaptation from the basic grinding of the floor, or you can say the so-called stone-based machine for the floor. And if you look with respect to the time, how the solutions have evolved, it has evolved then from the mechanical, or you can say the water-based power, to the electrical power, and subsequently many other intelligence have built in, and then it is helping to shape, I will say, the different outputs. And if I take this analogy or this example forward, you can find, I mean, the graphics reflecting how different stages of an automation is changing. Basically, the same grinding of the floor or grinding of the grains and getting the floor, and how automations, how electrical basically advantage is supporting to go.
Basically, industry 1 to industry 4.
Yes, absolutely. So this is a classic example of industry 1 to 4, but I call it from a common man perspective at this slide as the first level of a technology to another level of a technology, and therefore it is basically the 4 layers of technology, as you rightly said, industry 1 to 4, where you had the mechanical power coming, then the electrical power, followed by definitely the numeric aided machines, and then integration of the internet and related solutions. But still the message is, for getting the basic bread, how the engineering solution over time has provided a level of a comfort, or a level of, I will say, the change to a common man. And here, while I am showing the food, same thing I can apply now for the cloth. How from those hand woven to the looms and then these spinning machines and all, how that has further evolved, or even the shelter. So roti, kapda, makan. All the 3 indexes seeing the change and the shift. And while this shift is happening, obviously these shifts are all attributed to the engineering developments, and in the industrial ecosystem, as already there was a remark. So that is what we say, that is the industrial revolution, and we call it as an industry 1, 2, 3, 4. Same steps, same sequence, whether you relate with a common man or you relate with the industry. The shift is quite obvious, and I will only refer this shift as a development shift. Obviously, in this development shift, from an industry perspective, we have all kinds of changes happening over the time. So while these are the illustrations of industry 1 to 4, it definitely reflects that not only the primary needs, that is food, clothes, shelter, getting fulfilled through the engineering outputs, there have been a similar kind of change happening in many other aspects of the life linked with the individual. Obviously, some changes may be good, some changes can be also basically creating a negative impact. Obviously, here on the screen you find a change where robots can be deployed. Obviously, robots when deployed for the critical applications can definitely be good, or for the hazardous applications, let's say, it can be good. If they are getting deployed only to substitute a human being, it can have a different impact on the society. So also I mean on any of the manufacturing line. But even if I don't consider the industrial part of the output for the society, we are already seeing, I mean, if we take our day-to-day living, how different engineering solutions are creating the shift. The shift again brings a different level of comfort to the individual, or a different level of basically facilitation. So illustrations are, I mean, from all the sectors. You look, be the household, you look for the environmental part, you look even for the financial sectors, whether you are engineer or not, but you can find this difference in all the perspectives, say. And while these changes are happening, including the mobility applications or even basically the communication applications, you will find varieties of these changes. And these changes, okay, from a common man perspective, still whether a person is engineer or not, but I am sure 80% of us will have scenarios where one or two or three of these applications we will be making use of. And this is what it is actually getting integrated in our day-to-day life. And remember, this is the kind of the transactions which are happening in 60 seconds. So by the time I flip the slide, you can imagine that there will be more than 2.4 million Google searches have already happened in a minute, in a 60 seconds. Or just see, I mean the WhatsApp messages or basically any kinds of the searches. Even it can be the Instagrams and all, which also creates a good amount of connect with a certain age groups of the people. But while I am showing these illustrations were more from the point of view that development, whatever has happened, engineering had an important aspect of its contribution. So while engineering had its contribution, I am just also showing here the Indian engineering achievements basically in the last decade. In fact, it has been compiled from the annual book, or you can say the full compilation of Indian National Academy of Engineering, which was released just in the previous year. So you may find, I mean, varieties of how from an Indian standpoint also different engineering achievements have evolved over the time. But yes, when I am referring these achievements, remember that we only are talking about the development. Now then comes that we are talking now today that World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development. So I have still not touched sustainable part. We just saw the development part, that how development has been getting integrated in a common man's day-to-day life. When it comes to the sustainable development, let's understand what is sustainable development. No, sustainable development has nothing to do with Industry 5. Industry 5 is just one more layer of an advancement on a technological, you can say, the axis.
Digitalization and robotics.
Yeah, so it is just a next level from the Industry 4, which is more a, you can say, industrial Internet of Things. So, kind of. So it's still a further layer of an advancement. But when we are talking about the sustainable development, let's just remember that in fact, while there are various definitions, the most important which gets used across basically the globe and the community is that, or how it defines it, development is sustainable where it meets the needs of the present, that is the today's need, without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So when we are talking about fulfillment of present, we need to be sure that we are not doing anything which can impact the future generation. And it is very natural. I mean, from an age group of the, I will say the senior members sitting here, I can say that even if we don't talk about sustainable development, let's look from our own family setup context. If you have a grandchildren or a son, what is all the efforts which any individual will do? He will do for his family, for his basically immediate generation or generations to come. And like that, yes, I make a complete statement and then take the question. Like that, it will also basically will imply that not only the assets, not only the objects, what we possess, it is important that beyond our possession, even the earth, we need to also ensure that it is sustained. A simple illustration, for an example, if there is a water deep in the soil, if for my today's need and tomorrow's need, I just basically try to take it out fully, I mean for some construction or for some purpose, and if the land goes dry, Tomorrow I will also struggle, and possibly my next generation will also struggle. So it is important that it is not only the asset, but all the resources, whatever we have, we need to ensure that we are making use in a very judicious way, so that we are not compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. Yes, sir.
Just looking for the difference between industry 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Just can I read the sentence?
Yes.
Just one sentence.
Yes.
The term industry 4 refers to the integration of automation and data exchange in manufacturing.
Yes.
Industry 5 is a new concept that focuses on collaboration between human and machine. The goal is to create sustainable products and services.
Yeah, but you are only referring only to the products, only to the industry part. And what sustainable development refers is not only restricted to the industry, it is also applicable even to the common man, even the tea vendor who is just having a lorry outside. If he is serving you in the paper cup which is coated with a plastic, then he is also not doing the justice for the sustainability. So I am looking from a larger societal part. So that's the thing. But yes, industry, why industry? Because it's the business, it's basically the cycle, and therefore there will be a higher attention on these topics. But it is not, only limited to the industry. Okay, so while this is the basic, I will say the definition for what I want to bring out, what we also need to remember is that the two parts, the concept of needs in particular is essential needs of the world's poor. So I was referring like even the person who does not have even a first standard of literacy, still his needs also we will have to keep in mind, and so also the limitations imposed by state of technology and social organization on the environment ability to meet present and future. So these are basically the aspects also we will have to keep in mind when we are talking about the sustainable development. So in a quick graphic, let me just try to bring it. Needs of the present generation and at the same time needs of the future generation. Both needs to be balanced, and it needs to be balanced in a very meticulous way. And when we need to do this balance, we need to take care for basically these combinations. The message is that the way we live and then basically how we are going to create whatever improvements in our lifestyles, well-being, it should be preserving the natural resources and ecosystems. So we may have, we say the temperature is going up, let me have more and more air conditioners. Yes, if I am making use of an air conditioner, whether it has something which still can impact the environment, then I need to give a second thought. Or is there a better way? I need an air conditioner for my better quality of living, but is there a better way that I still deploy this air conditioner in such a way that I create a minimum impact on the environment? So that's the other way of looking at it. So if I need, yes, but then what is the most optimal? And that's what also one will have to think of. Yes, sir.
What has happened is the human being has been selfish, no? And suppose today I have got one AC in my house, and I am installing solar panels, no, on the rooftop solar panel. Government is giving me subsidy. So what I do is I again get second AC, third AC in my house. So in a way, I don't know whether I am giving justification to the sustainable development.
No, I am not doing. See, first of all, without even justified need, if I am going to have ACs and then run those ACs, even during the day when there is not, I am not only creating a kind of an artificial energy demand or an energy consumption, but I am also spoiling my own health, my own longevity, in fact, because it's not that the body accepts all those things in just a kind of ready to absorb mode. So there are many effects, and that is where in the couple of next slides I will bring UNESCO or the world view when we talk about the sustainable developments, whether it is only having only the gadgets, whether it is only the economic parity, or there is something beyond. So yes, we need to give a look, we need to give a thought, and everything we need to see in a 360-degree. So lifestyles improvement is one thing, but preserving natural resources and ecosystems is also a very important thing. And why we are talking about this? So this is just one illustration on the topic which you brought out from an energy perspective, and I also being from an energy domain, I always bring this kind of an illustration to relate with the topic. So why we are talking about sustainable development? Obviously, globally, across, everybody is talking about the climate change. Or climate change, at least as a buzzword. Let's put it, even if a common man may not be able to visualize it, he sees this as a buzzword. But the fact remains, I mean, like I started, in the initial part of my presentation, saying that there is a skew, or there is an upward shift in the ambient temperature. In Vadodara also, people definitely are now mentally prepared that by the time we are in April, we will definitely be more than 40, 42 plus. And in May, we may expect some days where we can hit close to 45 around. We are mentally prepared, but just remember that if you take 10 years back, 20 years back scenario, maybe there were handful of the homes which had the air conditioner. Today, possibly air conditioner is becoming like an essential need. So even if we say food, clothes, shelter, sometimes the mobile as the essential need, even having this kind of basic, I will say, gadgets in the home, they are becoming a kind of a de facto. But what is really happening? See, when I say I have one gadget, I add another gadget for my comfort, we need to remember that somewhere it is also contributing to the climate concerns. Why? Because basically, while we have seen the impact of the climate concerns, what is just getting reflected here, we need to remember that, for an example, if I am generating the energy or I am getting the energy from Vanakori, say, power plant, and if it is a coal based, obviously somewhere I am using the coal, and if I am using the coal, then those suspended particles, ash, everything, they still remain in the ambient. And if they remain in the ambient, the sun rays which are actually falling, they also get trapped. So by the time you have the evening, you will say my surrounding is still appearing to be warm. It is not seeing the cooling effect. In fact, it is a kind of a positive cycle where you create more demand for energy consumption. In turn, it generates again a more, you can say, side effects, which again creates a positive spiral, because it again creates a rise in the temperature. And both ways, opposite too. If it creates a temperature fall, you are then have a demand for the heat. So both ways this shift can create a kind of a positive spiral, and that's what I wanted to bring out here when I see that most of this energy consumption becomes more critical, because 80% of world's carbon dioxide emission, they are linked to production and consumption of energy. Now, when we talk about sustainable development, we are not saying that you stop consuming energy, but is there a better way, or is there a better alternate? And that's where possibly the renewable or a green energy, or I will say varieties of different, I will say the topologies are there, that they come in picture. So it is not that we don't need to consume, but we need to see how we can make use of an optimal usage of it. Or what is the life value chain? In fact, from an industry point of view, when we talk about the sustainability, even for the product development, or I will say for the product, it is not only that what I am using in my product, or what is basically if you say it's an electrical product, then what is the wattage, or what is the unit consumption of product. That is not only the thing. We look that even for manufacturing that product, how much energy I use on my shop. Forget on my shop, by the time it goes to the end user, I need to see what is the life cycle of the energy consumption it will have at the end use place. Not only the life cycle, once it ends the life, what is basically that object, it will create a residual impact in the environment. Hypothetically, everybody knows battery remains a point of a concern. I mean the disposable of
E-waste.
e-waste. But even if it is not battery, for an electrical products, I see couple of definitely senior colleagues from the electrical domain. So we say like we have those SF6 gas insulated switch gears and all. Now if those kind of gases they remain in the environment, they again trap the heat. In same way, if you take the pollutants, be it the sulfur dioxides, be it the carbon dioxide or any kind of the emissions, they don't go up in the atmosphere. They remain suspended in the close vicinity, and those where you create all the other effects. So in general, it is not only the design, but it's basically a complete life cycle of any object or any system or anything, and that's where in today's context the legislations are happening to look from a sustainable point of view. I am not still touching that. In case if there is an interest, we can definitely go and take a deeper look. But from an energy context, this is what really happens. That the journey so far, whatever we have taken over the time, we are practically in terms of the gas emissions, we are reaching the peak with a consideration that we now start at least taking the measures so that again bring and taper it down, basically. And that's where all these green technologies or new technologies, those all are coming, and that's where you see even in terms of graphics, these are not basically the standard, you can say, those generations, but the renewables and the eco-friendly designs and all comes up. This was just a kind of an index that if you don't go for the renewables, then possibly by the end of this century, we can already see an average shift which is more than 2 degrees. And in my very first slide, what I showed on the Divya Bhaskar, I mean, if I try to go back, you will find that for every 1 degree rise in the ambient temperature, your energy demand increases by 20%. So just imagine that if you are not able to contain, I mean, the temperature or you can say the climate related impacts within the defined bands, how much additional energy demand you will have. This is more, or this is in addition to all the kinds of electrifications we are having for the energy. So I am not saying the energy demand increase from conventional fuel to the electric vehicles and related increase. I am not saying that basically in my house, instead of I will say those conventional cooking stove, if I am making use of an induction stoves and related gadgets. Those additional basically layer of comfort definitely will add the energy demand. But the peripheral basically the shift itself creates almost like 20% increase when you have this shift happening by a degree and so. So this was just a graphic with certain milestones which highlights basically that even if you want to curtail up to 2 degree, your share of renewable has to be almost 50% in another, I will say the 10-15 years horizon. Otherwise, you still will have higher portion coming from the non-renewables, and then that is still going to create a spiral. So, okay, this is basically what our Prime Minister actually, as a part of his initiative, he had done. In fact, most of us, in case are not aware, our Prime Minister, he was one of the few who realized the importance of the climate change and related impact almost more than 10 to 15 years back, and he in fact formulated a working group and also published a book 15 years back on this topic. So and he has made the commitments, and that's why you find that for India also we say by 2030 we will have almost new additions which will be coming through the renewables. Same way our emissions, and then we say our net zero carbon will be by 2070, which is 20 years later than what Europe does by 2050. But this is more considering the fact that we have been underdeveloped and developing nations and not the developed nations who had all the luxury in terms of funds and availability of the resources for this kind of shifts and the change.
So in a way, one of those engineering solutions that you are offering is renewables.
Renewables, when you talk about the energy, it is not that the renewable is the only solution for a sustainable development. But yes, when we look towards the energy sector, renewable is one of the potential solution which can help at least in reducing, because energy sector is almost contributing still 80% from the I mean these emissions point of view. So yes, if I look at energy sector, then renewable is one of the potential, and it is why it is sustainable, because renewable is something which is available. If I don't use, then it is a loss. If I use, I don't create still any impact on the natural resources. Sun is always coming in the morning and setting in the evening, and I am getting the sun rays. It is my ability to extract a solar power if I have a good installed efficient unit. But even if it is an inefficient, and whatever small I am generating, I can still afford to consume that energy, because I am still not creating a adverse impact as against consumption of the same energy from the conventional I will say the means from where I would have. So I will only say renewable linked with energy part, but there are many things which still comes up when we look at the sustainability. So what are those things? So I just flash with basically, when we look from today we are here for the World Engineering Day, and when we talk about the goals, sustainable development goals, it is not only the energy. There are 17 distinct goals. We will see each goal possibly as we go in the next slides. But I definitely will like to highlight that each goal you will find may have a different perspective. It may be linked with energy, it may not be linked with energy, but yes, there can be good or bad sides of our present practice and what possibly we can do to improve it forward. But before I go forward, so far I am seeing couple of questions coming from here, but all other colleagues bit silent. So am I going correctly, or I need to do some course correction?
We want engineering solutions, sir.
Yes, so engineering solutions are there. We all are engineers, whether we are qualified or not, but we in fact can find the answers. And I will like to just highlight, in fact, towards the end of my presentation, that Government of India also has come out with a nice book, and when you see illustrations there, it appears that we already had been following good solutions, but in pursuit of technological advancement, we forgot, and we have taken a course. And when we now look at the retrospect, there are many things we can still inherit which can meet both the things. It means our current needs as well as can help you to fulfill the future part. So yes, but we need to find the solutions even if they are not existing. But I can only say that this topic, and in last 1 year or in last 6 months, how basically the engineering community has come together and found the solution. We will take some illustrations as we go forward, and we all will find that we have plenty of illustrations where all engineers can be proud. And at least when I say engineers, I am not referring to qualified. Each individual still can be an engineer, because he might have used a screwdriver in his home to tighten some nut and bolt, and so he is still an engineer from his limited perspective, and each one can make the difference. So we will look at it.
So from petrol, diesel vehicle to EV,
Yeah.
is that a solution?
It's a solution, but it's how you use it. If you are going to charge the electric vehicle from the energy which is coming from your coal-based station or so, then it is not a solution, because you are only transferring problem from one pocket to another pocket. But if you have a rooftop solar and you say yes, I am access generating the units, and instead of adding an additional air conditioner, let me add a electric vehicle and use that energy for charging it, then I will say yes, because I am not storing and I am still basically making a productive use of it. So it has to be looked from a perspective. Obviously, having said this, this is not only the answer. I can go into the detail about how different technological aspects also gets linked. But there is no absolute, I will say. The way you use it, that is why we say, we have the major from the EME, so he will fully agree. A weapon in the hand of a soldier is for saving the nation, and a weapon in the hand of terrorist, he can still spoil so technology is also the same way. How we use, how we exploit, that is what is going to create, I will say, the eventual impacts. okay? Is this space okay? Is it at least finding you as a value of coming here in the evening and then you feel that it is still adding, or you feel हम लोग आ गए, आज की इवनिंग बेकार हो गई? Yes sir.
Being an engineer, I always feel the development is necessary and is going on.
Yeah.
But what about the sustainability of human itself?
Okay, I will say that part is slightly tricky, but I will try to take this answer at the end, because still there are many facets which, as a human, if we do our own course correction, then the sustainability will not be.
Can I add one thing there?
Yes sir.
Everything depends in our hand only.
True.
How you make the balance, nothing more than that.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
stress and strain should be zero.
Absolutely. So like
So
in the
apply
previous slide
anywhere
we
in this
said.
area, stress and strain should be zero.
Very
That is
correct.
the object. If you don't make the balance, you will be either wrong side or the
Absolutely.
other way.
But that is true, I mean, for all the aspects of our life.
Exactly. So that is the only goal is to maintain a zero stress balance.
Yes, very,
That
very
is above everything.
Yes, very true. I think, sir, you had a question from this. You had a question?
No, sir, it's going very well.
Okay, fine, thanks. So, I am still going to take you through these global goals on each goal just to bring a flavor. But before it, did you notice that these goals also had some different colors and all? Each, topic, and if you take this World Engineering Day, the logo, this is the logo. It makes use of 17 different cuboids, and it also highlights that while they are there, in the central part, if you see the topics, actually they are mainly linked with water, energy, infrastructure, innovation. Obviously the other things are there, but in proportion in the central part are the topics which are at the core. Each one is of significance, and it also basically highlights that these are the areas where engineers are needed most. And the goal for engineering is also central, as the world needs more engineers with the right engineering skills. So right is still very, very important for sustainable development. And if that can be done, then basically the image of the world is actually there, visible in the logo, and then you can find the role of the engineers which actually helps in propelling the world forward. So engineers for sure are one of, I can say, the very, very important community if you take the complete global outlook. I have many times used this example or input on a lighter side, that it is the community which actually brings lot of difference, because there is always this, half of you would have also heard, but I still say, when we are talking about the engineers, it is still good to, re-hear and then still get ourselves proud of, as what madam also said. So if you take, for an example, a doctor, his prosperity increases when there is more, basically, I will say, the sickness, illness, health related topics in the society. When you look at a tax or a commercial person, his prosperity increases when there is more and more evasion of tax, or finding the ways and means of avoiding it, and thereby they try to increase the prosperity of the company. But you can relate with all different professions, but when you look towards the engineer, when the engineer prosperity increases, his prosperity increases when the nation gets prosperous. When the development activities in the nation contributes to the nation growth, then the engineering community gets prosperous. So yes, engineers are definitely the core and the prime mover as far as driving the world forward. I am going to quickly flip this. In fact, these are the messages from the UNESCO, basically, for the World Engineering Day, and then what are the significance of the engineers. Considering that time is limited for me going forward, I am just trying to quickly jump through on the topics, and then I am trying to come through these sustainability goals. So the first, basically, sustainability goal is basically that economic growth must be inclusive to provide sustainable jobs and promote equality why it is important? Donate what you don't use, and more than 700 million people still live in extreme poverty. So yes, we may not be able to see them, but they remain in the extreme poverty. And that's where possibly if we see engineers again come, they bring basically their contribution and the changes, and you can find basically that these changes should create a positive impact. Obviously there are always two sides. So as I am trying to highlight, 100% child education versus 0% child labor, it is very, very important. It should not happen that we do the engineering developments and then deploy more and more child to support it. No, we should ensure our development should happen, but at the same time 100% child education should also happen. Then we can try to manage the things. So I am not reading that things, possibly some of you can definitely make out, there are many more messages in between. But what I still want again from the graphics, that how engineers still brings the changes. For example, in the educations or the way, and you all will agree, pre-COVID and post-COVID, this complete education scenario has also changed. And even if you take the existence of the society during the COVID phase, it was the engineering solutions, engineering advancements that remained a backbone and that helped all the society, I mean, irrespective of the strata of the people, to really survive and continue forward. So yes, education is definitely one thing, but you can see, I mean, couple of these e-commerce applications, cottage industries related support. Today, these engineering advancements are making a big difference. One cannot imagine even a small, I mean, handicraft diya, which may be just like, say, half a rupee or a 1 rupee piece, can still be available and sold on an, I mean, global websites, be it even the Amazons or Flipkart. It is basically this solution which is also helping to get connected even to the smallest basically section of the society, who may not have possibly got the same outreach which established, I mean, the business organizations would have got. So yes, this couple of this kind of basically developments are really making the things. This is, I mean, the development which just happened a couple of days back, so I am just projecting this news item. So this is basically the EPIC, which is basically the first tablet with Bharat. Like any other tablet, you can say an extended form of a mobile or a simplified form of a desktop computer or a laptop. But what I see significant in this, I mean, the tablet development is that, first of all, it's a full indigenous design. But not only it is an indigenous design, it is for the first time having the claims, and the claims are getting supported by, I mean, this person behind this is the person who founded the HCL Technologies. So he is running this EPIC Foundation, and they have this Bharat GPT tablets which announced the previous weeks. What it is saying, these tablets will be repairable. You normally would not have heard that you have an electronic gadget of a present generation and somebody will be repairing that gadget. You will always say either you replace or you basically go for at least a PCB level substitute. There are hardly any, and now we are talking about that this will be repairable. Another important aspect is that it will be definitely priced cheaper, but this tablet can be used in any part of the country because the same hardware will be able to adapt to the different regional languages. Now just imagine that a person not only, I mean, speaking English or not even so fluent with Hindi or his basically the top languages, still he can find some tool in the local language. How easy for him will be to at least start gaining some more insights and then making a self-adaptive learning. I personally see, in fact, this is the news from Feb 14. So this is basically, I will say, the significance what typically a kind of an engineering solution brings. But this was, I mean, for the first goal. We have 17 goals. So let's look. The second goal is basically waste less food and support local farmers. I mean, the objective is zero hunger. Now you may say this has nothing to do with the industry, but zero hunger is the objective. why it is important? A third of the world food is wasted, yet 821 million people are undernourished. And when I am talking to this, obviously my again focus goes towards how engineering can bring the difference. As I said, be the weapon or the object like drones. So drones can be used for definitely recreational photographies and all during your I will say the functions. But here there is a classic use of a drone for pesticide spraying for the agriculture. Now, if the spraying can happen, it can definitely enhance at least or ensure a uniform spraying. It can reduce all the labor which possibly a uneducated farmer may face, or he will toil under the sun and all. So that's where it is giving him a comfort, and we can definitely increase our agriculture output. I always use this illustration in different forums, but the second image is for the grass, or the residue cutting for the crops, and always this is the time of the year. The initial months of Jan, Feb, we always see that there is a huge pollution impact, at least in the northern India, and that is coming from this burning. But just imagine the technology. For an example, you have John Deere as one of the agriculture equipment company, and they provide you the equipment which can help you to take out the grass or the residues from the soil without damaging the soil, and you can take out instead of burning them. Farmer finds that easy because burning them makes them quite comfortable to clear it, and that is practically just a cost of a machine. Now engineers will have to play a role to have the equipment such that even with that minimal cost, if he can take out the grass and then obviously pack it, that's what you will see many places in the Europe and all people do, so that they can use it in the adverse weather, and we can still do the same thing. So agriculture basically is one of the big area. Obviously you will find couple of things, the crops that self-fertilize. So even if the leaves and the residue fall, they can still get integrated with the soil and can help the thing. In fact, government has recently came out with nano nutrients and related basically as against the conventional pesticide. That is again a big shift. But what again I wanted to bring is just from the images, you can find how engineers can make the difference. You have cold storage plants. The cold storage, you can say the areas. If you can provide more cold storage, we can at least ensure those raw vegetables which are there, they are not getting just spoiled for the lack of a proper storage. So that's where the engineer can make the difference. You possibly see the transportations. If you can provide a good quality of a transportation, obviously you can ensure that from the yield to the end market, you are able to connect in a shortest time. Now, if you would have seen only the hunger or the food as the objective, you would have said we don't have any role. But if you look now from the same problem from a different perspective, you will find that engineers can provide many answers, including even the organic farming. So we are also talking about the facts that basically our land still remains the same. We are not going to get some additional land. And population is increasing, and so also the demand for the food and basically. So there are basically the areas where people have started creating the engineering solutions for the floating farms. So you had solar rooftop on the canal, same way possibly on the rivers or that area where which hardly we had used for the agriculture, you can have the floating farms. You can still bring the difference. So how you will meet the need? Population growth is happening. So either you will say that whoever has a higher, I will say, money or a power, he will be able to only get the food, or we will also try to strike a balance that we increase our yield and at the same time create additional revenue. And these are all engineering solutions. And don't remember that whatever I am showing, it is not a kind of a fiction or not an imagination. It is brought from the real day-to-day examples or the illustrations which are already in use. So this is, I mean, just for a topic like this. But let's come to the third goal. And the third goal basically is good health and well-being. Now sometimes we may say good health is not my responsibility, I am only at the mercy of a doctor. But there are many things where again I mean we all can play a role. Or engineers can also definitely play a very active role. Obviously vaccination and all during the COVID times we all have seen, I mean how it contributes. But I can tell you 2-3 very good illustrations. Just I saw earlier this month we had this Maker Fest in the Faculty of Technology campus. And do you believe that I saw the solutions which were coming from the engineers. So computer, electrical, mechanical engineers coming together, and one demonstration was just taking the photograph, I mean a better resolution photograph of your skin with the help of the supporting, I mean the software and image processing algorithms. One can predict the inception of skin cancer. Now this solution personally I see, if it is just available in a software form, you don't need any money and still you can ensure that the people can live a kind of at least or can overcome such kind of a cancerous challenge. I have actually on the another slide to show eye retina. That was also another illustration for what I saw. Taking the photographs just of the eye, you can predict the stage of diabetes. Now you do only an image processing, and you know these days we make use of the mobile for taking all kinds of photographs with all kinds of resolutions. That may be for the fun or for our own, I will say, the recreation. But just imagine the same photograph with this device is taken, and it helps to basically solve the problem of a eye of an individual who does not know. I am referring, I mean mainly the population which is in the rural part of our society. And this does not need a physical doctor sitting in the rural hospital. You take the photograph, you transmit the photograph, an expert is still sitting in a different corner of the world, and he analyzes and starts giving the recommendation that okay, this is the stage you go for this medication. So yes, there are many, I mean if you see from the graphics you will find from the breath many analysis possible, from the even the during the COVID times the body temperature scan, and then you know how people were able to make out a possible infection to the individual. So yes, medical is seen a big shift. There are many things, I mean in the medical realm, apart from I mean all those robots in Vadodara, also in the SSD we had during the COVID times, L&T providing the robots, so that even if the family members were basically skeptical to see their own, I mean infected people, robots were going and then trying to make food, or I will say the medicine delivery. So you see the application and you will find that the engineers can really make a big change. And obviously if you take quality of a human life, be physical, emotional, intellectual, occupational or environmental, these are all the areas where you will find varieties of the engineering solutions which can really help an individual. So for an example, I was very happy when I saw that like the premier institute, Indian Institute of Science, for an example, will anybody believe that now they offer a course for an online MBA? People used to struggle to get a seat. Today they are offering a course for an online MBA just because of the availability of a technology. And it is a boon for the people working in the industry. The industry can still have their engineers with them, and the engineers can still acquire the higher quality. Varieties of illustrations, I mean, be it the physical, I mean, you all agree that there are now a sizable number of the people, including me. I would have always my step counter basically integrated in terms of an app. So at the end of the day, I see, okay, how many steps I have made. If they are not adequate, possibly I take another half an hour additional and see that I reach a minimum threshold. Now, without any additional things, if I can get those kind of an indication, those kind of a support, then why not we make use of the technology. So yes, there are varieties of the things. I was referring for the retina part, and this is there, but this was also an ad, which advertisement which I picked from about 2 weeks back newspaper. And you will be surprised. I mean, we are talking about the Titan Eye and the glasses, and these glasses are not normal. You put the glasses can play the music in your ear. So you have those Bluetooth, but Bluetooth, or you can say the connectivity getting integrated with the wristling, you can say. Yeah. Also, the central part of this glass, this is from the Titan Eye, and everybody will know that there are shops all across the city. Here the central part has a camera. It can take the images and still take you hands-free. It can play music, it can help you to receive the call. And you know, this technology is not that it is in thousands, I mean tens of thousands. It is only 5,999 rupees. Why I am saying only? The purpose is that today if we go to a restaurant or a hotel, we easily spend 1,000 rupees. And this is the kind of, I mean, the shift which technology or the engineering solutions are bringing. So having still got these illustrations, let's quickly look at some more basic illustrations. So I would like to quickly start moving forward. Quality education, we already touched about the quality education, but I am definitely still referring the smart education's environment or the education's environment, where you can bring lot of animations to still convey the message to the basically the end students, or you can say the people who are attending. So I see technology here in the case of medical education making a big difference. Earlier people used to struggle to have the physical bodies available. Today with the help of augmented and virtual reality, without having a physical body, you can still try to make out that what really happens within the body parts and how to basically reach a specific section, ensuring that you have minimum basically invasion on the human body. So take the medical educations, and obviously there are many other things coming both from the augmented and virtual reality solutions. I just want to bring the flavors, but yes, if somebody has any questions on any of the topic, I will be more than happy to elaborate it out. So another important thing is basically that is gender equality. And here again basically somebody will say gender equality, what technology will do? It is only between, I mean, two members of the society or two groups within the society. But I can tell you that today also, I was just reading, in fact, today only the UNESCO basically paper and the appeal on the occasion of World Engineering Day, where it says that still the girl education in the society, especially in the engineering part, is less than 28%. Now we can definitely bring this change. We can ensure to make the education affordable, engineering education affordable, and that's how we can try to balance. And if we can do it, obviously, I mean there are varieties of things, but again the illustration from the Vande Bharat train. So you now have the females basically as the loco pilot. Nobody would have thought that for such kind of basically work we will have them there. And in case if it is there in your observation or not, if any of you still today, see if you order on the Amazon, then the small parcels and all, you will find that Amazon has a policy now to deploy the females for that distribution. So again, the engineering is bringing the change. I mean, the way it provides the tools, the way it provides the comfort, and way it helps in ensuring that people don't feel shy in basically doing a job, because that still appears to be a kind of a fairly reasonable job with providing a good quality of the attention. So varieties of the aspect, yes, this is another important thing, and that's where again the engineering has a big role. Clean water and sanitation. So obviously under the sustainable programs, you will always find rainwater harvesting and all related basically contributions coming from the engineering community. But obviously one of the big basically engineering contribution is also in terms of the saline water, sea water getting basically treated so as to make it drinkable. And not only this, I mean the examples you can also find, I mean, in terms of sewage treatment, how we are bringing a good amount of change. And this just reminds me, I mean, I'm just trying to quickly take some examples. And this is again the example from Vadodara. I'm not sure if how many of you are aware that we have this BARC facility, I mean Baba Atomic Research Center facility in Vadodara for the sewage treatment. So whatever sewage we have, or whatever basically the municipal corporation provides the support, it actually gets attended by Baba Atomic Research Center facility in Vadodara. That is called as a street. In fact, this is the photograph from there, and it is one of the very unique facility. And remember that post that treatment, whatever is the sludge which is left out, it is still used as basically a manure for the farming, for making the bricks and then making use of it. So normally we say Baba Atomic Research Center, nuclear and related things. It is not like that. You still have a very good illustration of a technology which still reaches to the common man.
The plant is there in Korea.
Nagar, and then we have in Bajrawad. Bajrawad is the backdrop, that's the facility. Those are additional units which have come up, but the core, you can say the instrumentation and handling is done from the Bajrawad. Yes.
So I was proposing but floating by now.
Okay. But see, the point is that these are some of the applications which many a times we don't think, we don't relate. We always feel it is just a chemical reaction and done. No. There are so many engineering basically contributions which starts getting built up. Here again, basically here, energy we all know, I mean clean energy we also talked I mean couple of times. So I will not take the energy part here, but yes, we still have, I mean, those solar lanterns, the microgrids and all, we still starts illuminating the homes. But even for the farming, we have the solar pumps, which even if the farmer may not have an electricity connection, he still can make use of the pump and then you use for his, I mean, the farming or the water distribution. So these are again very good examples of the engineering solutions. I am going to quickly now still pass through the couple of these. So here basically the decent work and economic basically equality, and here I just want to illustrate basically that how artificial intelligence related solutions, or how all this basically the e-commerce, e-marketing are changing again the complete index. So we always say a Ola or a Uber may not own a single car, and still they can be managing the biggest fleet of the cars across the globe. But this just brings me to again an example from the previous week. Now we have artificial intelligence to ensure this Bangalore metro, the tracks, they will get inspected through an artificial intelligence solution, and this is a driverless metro. So in the morning it will make a trip, it will map it fully, it will try to create a comparison with the signature from the healthy setup, and if it finds any deviation, it will create an observation message. But just one dummy trip will be taken in the morning, and then it will help you to a complete health of the metro. So this is a deployment happening, I mean, in the Bangalore metro, and this just reminds me that when I talk about the artificial intelligence for even this today's talk, I tried to do a support from this generative AI. And I asked generative AI, engineering solution for sustainable world, can you help me to make a presentation? And this is the output. I mean, you can see coming from the Copilot, which is the generative AI from the Microsoft. It has basically another illustration coming from the Google, that is the Gemini AI. But imagine, I mean, hypothetically you don't know the topic and still you want basically a knowledge on it, or you want to make a deeper study, this generative AI can really help you. Obviously, I always say good and bad side, but if I am looking towards the good side, then it is helping to fill the void. It at least helps you to make one stuff. So this is again a kind of a good example of engineering aspect. So here again we come to a industry, innovation and infrastructure. I think we all know much about it, but you all will remember, I mean, from the graphics that recently we also had this highest rail bridge getting inaugurated in Kashmir a couple of weeks back, and then it helps you to create a connect between the two ends and save a huge amount of time. Now whether we call this as a sustainable development or not, then yes, it's a sustainable development, because it reduces your commutation time and the energy which possibly you would have spent in an alternative means. So these are, I mean, varieties of the examples, and I just use this occasion. This is also something which all engineers should be proud of. How this, I mean, from a tunnel incident. So one may say that, I mean, the formation of a tunnel may be environmentally a risky thing and it should not be done. So that can be a different school of thoughts and debate. But imagine that it was for still improving the comfort for the humans, and when this tunnel episode happened, I mean, when it got blocked and the miners were trapped inside, you know how engineers really brought the change. Just imagine, I mean, making a small pipe and then allowing at least a radio communication to prosper, allowing the food to be fed, till the other engineering actions comes in precedence and then helps in finding a better solution. And even the retrieval of the people, you will have find that lot of those mechanized stretchers and pulling and then related actions were performed. So if you just go into the statistics now, you will be really surprised that these small looking things, how engineers can make a big difference. So yes, again let me quickly, I see also the time. So okay, reduce inequalities. Yes, engineer can give you an equal opportunities to many, and there are varieties of again the illustrations. So a small farmer or a big farmer or a big corporate giant, they all can still access the same market through the the online tools. So yes, everything is possible, but I just again bring the illustration from our day-to-day life. Just see, even a vegetable vendor today making use of the UPI, he is able to do the transaction. He does not need even to count the money or struggle for the exchange, and he can still do the transaction with the UPI app. You have those LED lamps. Imagine taking a connection and then providing the electricity or having just a standalone battery and then making the illuminated setup. And you know how this ecosystem still flourish. Even for the battery, the vendor does not make the investment. There is another vendor who comes in the evening and gives one battery to each the vendor, and then he will collect in the night and then he will charge for them, and next day he will again provide the battery. So it's a complete ecosystem which brings a kind of a change. And you see, varieties of the things. So even this I always feel a good illustration in your house, in your street. You will have many times seen a vendor, but now he is not making use of his mouth, to make the announcement. You have those pre-recorded, basically the message is getting played, and you may get irritated that why he is making the repeated message. But from his point of view, he has made a point. He has got the attention what he really was looking for. Including, I can play this audio. The last image, even this dustbin or this garbage collection, a nice, catchy song, and a person or whoever, even in the remote flat, if he hears the song, he knows that the garbage wala has come and it's time to pass on. See the impact of technology, and that's where I see as a sustainable development, because now you don't allow the garbage also to get rotten. You know, and you are also making use of the judicious use of your available time. So yes, many illustrations. Again, I will say the sustainable cities and communities. So this is another thing, and we find again all kinds of engineering basically aspects, either tunnel, bridges, road connect, or even I will say the construction from the point of view of earthquake resistance buildings and all. But another good thing again which I see coming from the civil engineering community is this rooftop gardens and the vertical growth of the garden. So you still maintain the green balance, and you have the construct still taking care for the nature, which earlier was restricted. I mean, you have all kinds of illuminations and the things, automations, so as to reduce the energy consumption, making use of the daylights, but also ensuring the green connects. And this is again an image from a project from Pune. So it is not that something which is far away. In the Pune itself, this construct is already happening. Another is from Milan. Then the next goal basically is on the again responsible consumption and production. So you need to have responsible consumption and production, and that's where again the engineering community is talking about the circularity approach, where we try to ensure that at least we don't actually destroy the things, but we use as much as possible whatever has been generated with minimum use of the energy or minimum use of the things. So yes, this is another, but one good illustration which again I always feel that there is already a good amount of work which is happening on the bioplastics. So we have the plastics which are definitely hazardous, but you have bioplastics now actually in certain kind of a limited use, but they are like the soluble ones, so you can consume. So they take the form when they are holding a particular, you can say the thing. Once the element is consumed, they can self-disintegrate. Or you can consume. It is like an ice cream cone. So you eat the ice cream and then also consume the cone. So like this, those biodegradable, or you can say the bio parts are also coming up. And these are all very important things. So let's quickly climate action. Again, we talk about all the things, and from the graphics you can find varieties of the engineering contributions which are coming. So be it the dams, bridges, solars, vehicles. But one good illustration again, I want to always focus on the recent things. So you saw this is basically on the train. And this is again February 22 news. In a first, trucks with auto parts take train from Haryana to Gujarat, and then once they get down at Mehsana, then again they roll to the near the automobile factory. Now imagine the same trucks, if they would have come by the road, it would have taken more than a day. Now here, with only the, you can say, the electrified railway, all the trucks are making the movements as a goods, and then the same truck we will roll down and then move. It is like Ro-Ro ferry. We have in the Dahej to Bhavnagar connect, where you drive your car and then you put your car inside the ferry, and then at the destination again you roll it out. So these are again the illustrations where the engineering can bring a huge amount of support and the change. Again, life below water, so not directly linked with I will say the humans, but even for the species. Obviously, the engineering also can ensure that we avoid all those, you can say, the garbage, cleaning related things, but at the same time we can avoid those polluting practices, and obviously the correct treatments to see that we don't impact the marine life. Life on land, again I will say those green thing and all, I'm seeing, I'm touching close to it, so I'm quickly jumping on this last 2-3 so that I can use the balance 5 minutes at least for the other topics. So this is on the ethics part. Again, the technology is helping, in a big way. Even for the disabled people, you can put basically the gadgets, and then you can walk, you can climb the stairs, you can basically perform like a normal being with the help of technologies. Even the interworld or I mean the global connect. So this also basically engineering is helping to bring a kind of a uniformity and the concepts of the global grids and even I say this tunnel. So why I am putting for the interconnection, even this tunnel which is recently again inaugurated by the PM in the previous week, it is for the first time now you will have a possibility of a rail to start from the top Kashmir and can go up to Kanyakumari. So this, in absence of this tunnel, that stretch was always missing. And now you find that tunnel getting inaugurated and it improving the connect. And now extended, the same thing can be extended to the other parts in the Asia. So you have, I mean, this kind of an engineering enhancements which comes, but then all this sustainability, who has the responsibility? I am touching it, is it okay? I take another 5 to 10 minutes? Okay. Everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay. So that then the question is whether all these sustainable things and all we talk about and we say that whether it is only industry problem, whether it is the problems of the government, whether it is the problem or an average person can make the impact or not. And I can show you, I mean I am just making use of the illustrations from an ABB, I mean my organization book, that what kind of the changes we have also in our offices which helps in contributing to sustainable development. And you will laugh when you see each of those illustrations, but I can tell you that they all really contribute in a very big way. So if we talk about the work, first is think before you send even an email. Remember that you might have clicked an email and which might have taken a couple of minutes, but when it flows to the complete network, it still consumes certain pottage. And there are, I mean, the reports and the statistics and the papers. If somebody is interested, try to follow, and you will find that each email also consumes a portion of the electricity. So we may not care, I mean, charging the mobile and a half a watt or 2 watts getting spent, but when it starts getting accumulated, it still counts in a big way. So those small drops can make a big difference. Huh? Obviously, there is always an encouragement that whatever you use, try to see that you can reuse. In fact, this book is fully available on the web. So if somebody wants, I just distribute the book which we say the ABB. Same way, I mean, in our offices, you will not find those paper cups and all. We all know, I mean, if you pour a hot basically drink, say for a tea in the cup, for the timing you may not find the difference, but you are actually eroding that small thin plastic layer, and then you are actually creating a problem for yourself. Or a wax, yes. So that's the thing, and therefore I mean just to share, I mean from an ABB context, basically we have that mission to zero by 2030 as far as our own sites are concerned. And I can tell you that in India also all our manufacturing operations, they have water harvesting, full rainwater harvesting. They have renewable energy. So at least the office operations, they are fully compensated by the renewable energy. You will not find, I mean even if you are a guest, you will not find a distillery bottle available. Either you will have possibly a glass bottle, or you will have to make use of a glass from the water tap to make use of the water drip, but you will not find a plastic bottle. So also, I mean, in case of our packaging or in terms of any of our forwarders value chain. So there are many things, I mean, what we do and we try to act on. Now when it comes to the home, I can just show you again the simple illustrations. Making use of the curtains or not, it also can save, I mean, a fraction of electricity. We many a times have a tendency, why to open the curtain and let's use the light. But possibly such kind of small things can make a difference. Solar we all know, so not the issue. But yes, we still have those silent consumption of energy in terms of switching off the TV with the remote or putting a mobile for the charging, and even if it has fully charged, we say okay, it's still a fraction of watt, so 15 minutes here or there does not make a difference. But start counting. If you are 4 members, 5 members in the home, and everybody basically does that, at the end of the day, you basically make a difference of quarter of a unit, and in a month it will be couple of units together. So this kind of passive, I mean, basically consumption also one should avoid. And yes, we have also, I mean, various solutions to make the home automation so that you avoid all those consumption of the energy. When it comes to the vehicles, electric vehicles definitely the choice, but as I say, it is only the choice with an assumption that you are having the correct source of energy. In absence, it is still preferred to follow the cycle rather than basically. So these are the possibilities. For an example, these are all the statistics which says if you take air travel, possibly you end up in spending much more energy as against possibly if you would have moved on the surface. Obviously, the vehicle tuning efficiencies and all is also basically the thing. Okay, electric charging and all. I'm not touching on the technology, but yes, we almost more than 50% chargers across the globe for the electric vehicles comes from the ABB. So when it comes to basically even the hospitality and state, just ensure that you also at least don't litter the garbage or don't have those left outs. And I always prefer you have a locally grown fruit. The purpose is you then avoid all those storages and related energy consumptions. Okay, this is like the recycle concept, but then there are varieties of the things. But I just come to the book which is from the government of India. So this is the book which says lifestyle for the environment, and you can see 3 good illustrations. The water storage arrangements which our ancient people had followed. You had these clay utensils and the millets. All 3 are classic example of how you can be close to the nature rather than going away from it. And I am just taking the excerpts from this book, but this again lists varieties of the things which each individual can do, be it the home or the things, and how you can save the energy. So you will find small, those micro illustrations, but this is a part of the book which comes from the government. And here I try to come practically towards the end. So I just use this picture because whenever I talk about the sustainability, I always tend to bring one of the real illustrations. So in the past I talked about the Statue of Unity, I talked about the Central Vista. Today possibly on the right, left side you see an image, and for the people there can be various viewpoints. People may say that this is a kind of a politics linked with religion. Somebody may say yes, it is a place for the picnic or a recreation, and for some it can be the waste of money. But if you try to follow all this development, I can tell you that it's also a matter of an engineering pride. Why? Keeping aside the religious beliefs. If you try to go into its statistics or I mean the details, it's a classic again the example for the sustainable development. Why? Let me just bring in some of the attributes. First, in the entire construction, not even a single, I will say, no piece of iron is yes, not used. 70% of the campus space is green. Imagine today we are struggling, to have a green space. 70% space is still green. And remember, this is one very, unique thing. Anointment of Lord Ram idol on Ram Navami, where the light will fall on the eye of you can say, it is not making use of any electricity. It is just combination of mirrors. And on a Ram Navami day, the rays of the sun will automatically take a path through the combination of mirrors and will fall on the eye of the Lord. So again, a kind of an engineering exercise. If you take Statue of Unity, there are many such things. But if we don't know, you will always see it's just as a place of a worship. Again, its foundation. the foundation of this temple, actually it is on the soil which earlier it is said that possibly the river Saryu has flown and the soil was not, I will say, one of the strong enough. And for the foundation, basically fly ash and dust has been used to make that foundation, and then on that the granite structure has come out. So again, even from the point of view of the cement, so not iron, even the cement usage is to a very minimal extent. Else all the stones and the combination is only through the male female interlocks, and the complete, I mean the huge structure which is supposed to span over 3 floors comes up. So yes, this is definitely the thing. So if you try to relate with, I mean, these 17 goals, what I will say UNESCO talks about, you will find almost majority of them will get fulfilled, because I talked about the technology side, but just imagine, I mean, the temple coming and the villagers there, they now have their house for the homestay, and they find a different kind of an economic cycle. Now if economic development happens, so also the societal and the education and other things will follow. Apart from, we all will agree, today practically each part of a country finds a train connection to Ayodhya, which possibly was not there. So imagine, I mean, the development, we have seen same thing happening with the Kevadia colony or Statue of Unity coming. So these are definitely the things, and this brings practically more or less to the last slide. So when we talk about sustainable development, I always say cultural change is must. We have been doing the engineering, and we can definitely solve the problems. I mean, whatever challenge comes. But we always know, we have heard, I mean, slow, steady wins the race. And as I possibly made, that the technology is also a kind of a perspective. If it gets used in a correct way, it can be helpful. If it is not used in a correct way, it can also make you painful. And so what you see here from the graphics. And here, it is also important that when we talk about the technology, we can have many cars. I mean, and then we find that now we are struggling to find a way, and then possibly the same story can repeat. I mean, that you compare to the traditional, I mean, the cycling, and he can still win the race. But this just brings me to another message, because this is the week where we also celebrate for the safety. I mean, or we take the safety week, because from the today we start with the National Safety Week campaign. And why I bring, as we go for more and more advancements with the cars, actually you may be surprised, but the maximum number of accidents which occurs on the road is for the pedestrians, the people who walk on the road, not by the cars and also. Maximum, I mean, the damages which happens is for the people who walk on the road, and therefore we need to be careful. I mean, technology is there with us, but we need to make a careful use, and obviously we can find the ways. I mean, if you ask an engineer that how we can avoid this collision and all, obviously we can say those braking device like what we have now for the railways, anti-braking device, or you can have, I mean, the children's making use of the clothes with a reflective, or those reflections creating the electric signals. And so if you ask the engineer, they will find the solution. But what is fundamental is that cultural change also we will have to bring if really we want the sustainable development. So with this, I try